स्पॉटलाइट में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हूं आपकी होस्ट अमीता। Join me weekly as we talk to guests who will inspire you to be the change towards world progress. Progress in the world can be made in many different ways. Two of them involve eliminating poverty and focusing on our children who are our future. Majority of the children in the world live in poverty, and education is the mainstay to get out of poverty. So if we focus on children and their education, we are one step closer to world progress. Well, there are many ways to educate children, and one of them involves removing barriers towards access to education. World Vision Canada is doing its part, and we can help too. Today we'll be talking to the Director for International Programs with World Vision Canada, Mr. James Pothirajulu, and their current project, Rise Up Daughters of India. Welcome to our show, James.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We are excited to find out about the project. But first, tell us a little bit about World Vision Canada.
Sure, I can do that. World Vision is a Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization. We focus on children, their families, and the communities that they live in. And we do this mainly, as you said, to get them out of poverty and to work against injustice.
Mm-hmm. So it is quite a large organization, as we are all aware of. How did you come to be part of it?
Yeah, and I want to start from my childhood, if I may.
Yes, for sure.
I grew up as a child of a Christian priest. Mm-hmm. That's how I started my childhood. And one of the things that my father did as a pastor was really reach out to the community around the church. And I watched him growing up. He was so concerned about the poverty that we lived amidst, and I was very influenced by the work. And I always thought, yeah, maybe I don't want to be a priest, but certainly I want to get into this. So as I grew up and I started into college, I did my graduation, then I looked around, and then I joined a master's degree in social work, very specifically specializing in community development. So that's how I got into this as a profession. For 19 years, I worked in India. I worked for several organizations. I first worked for a sponsorship agency, then I worked for CARE. We worked very closely with the government. Then I worked for Child Rights and You, a very indigenous Indian organization that really worked with the grassroots level people. So in 2005, when I finally migrated to Canada, and I knew that my passion was still in helping the world's poor, and I looked around for an organization. And incidentally, at that time, World Vision Canada was actually looking for a program manager for their programs in India. And so there I was, and I applied for that job. So I started as a program manager for India, and for the last 6 years, I've been the director for international programs for World Vision Canada.
Nice. And I'm sure they saw that passion within you, because you already had it growing up, that you wanted to help the needy, and it all kind of fell into place because you put it out to the universe, and here you are. And it's an amazing project we're going to talk about helping girls, especially with this project. But before that, with all your experience, your education, and all the passion, you have also been part of other initiatives. You already mentioned a name, but with the world, can you elaborate on some of the other projects you've been part of?
Sure. I really want to talk about, I talked about World Vision as a relief, development, and advocacy organization, and I want to talk about the advocacy piece a little bit, and that's one of the most passionate of what I do. And I want to give an example when I was in India. Many people in India do not know that only in 2009, education became compulsory. It was always free, but it was not compulsory. So I was part of the movement starting in the early 2000s, where we worked with grassroots level organizations and the communities to demand that education be made compulsory. So we had a kind of what we call a groundswell of people congregating before the parliament demanding that education be made compulsory. So in 2009, the Right to Education Act was finally passed. That was 5 years after I moved to Canada. So the power of the people, when when the people demand something, that will definitely happen. So this is something that in World Vision we strongly believe in. We are a very community-based organization. We work with communities, but at the end of the day, if we can influence the governments, the local governments, to make a change, that's going to have a much huger impact in the communities. So that I'm very passionate about our advocacy work that World Vision does.
Very well said, and it's so true. But it all has to start with that one individual, the passion, and then you share that passion and get everybody who's like-minded, or maybe they're on the fence about helping, but if you put your heart and mind to it, then you get everybody to work together, and then the change does happen.
That's correct.
So today then we are talking about this special project that is, I guess, currently very close to what World Vision Canada wants to achieve, which is Rise Up Daughters of India. So we're going to talk about that, but usse pehle lete ek chota sa break. स्पॉटलाइट में फिर से आपका स्वागत है. We are talking to the Director for International Programs with World Vision Canada, Mr. James Pothirajulu. So James, now it's exciting to learn about this current project, Rise Up Daughters of India. So tell us more.
Sure. I do want to say that World Vision Canada works in over 60 countries in the world, and we have multiple projects. And this particular project that we are focusing in India is all about education. Right at the introduction, you talked about the importance of education, and of course, we so truly believe that education is fundamental to all other development work. So education is so important. There are obviously so many barriers, and we are actually in this project called Rise Up Daughters of India, we are focusing on the need for toilets in India specifically. You would be surprised to know that 47% of schools do not have working toilets for girls, 47%. And that's a lot of children who are impacted by this. And as I said, there are so many reasons in India as to why girls don't go to school. But if you would be surely surprised that this is a major reason. So this is really a campaign that we are running now in India to say, if you want to get girls to school, we got to remove all the barriers. And we are starting small, and it's always good to start small and to start one at a time. And we are trying to tackle the issue of toilets. So this project kind of focuses on building toilets in a particular district in a place called Faridkot in Punjab. And we are campaigning in Canada, and we are trying to get the Canadian diaspora from India to be partners with us in this journey.
Nice. If we go back to that percentage you said, about 47% of girls don't have toilets in schools, is that right? The girls?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's girls? Like, why girls?
So what I meant was there could be toilets in schools, but they're not marked as for girls, right? So there could be a common toilet, and you would understand very specifically for boys it's much easier to go, and for girls there are several reasons where they need the privacy, and when I say working toilets, it's also about if there is sufficient water in it. So really 47% of the schools don't have toilets in India. And that impacts close to 65 million children in India, actually.
And of course, if you're not comfortable through the day, then you wouldn't even want to go to school because you cannot focus on getting the education.
That is correct. Now, for girls, if they have to go outside, okay, so there is the safety issue.
True.
There is the hygiene issue, and thirdly, there is the dignity issue as well. Okay, so the choice for the girls many a times is not going to school, and we would be surprised that this is one of the major reasons that we have identified for the reason that girls don't go to school in India.
That's sad. I mean, the things we take for granted, like I wouldn't even think about, it's something, that's given to you here that you wouldn't think about twice. And for sure, I guess then girls, compared to the boys, they don't get the preference. So, and that's why probably they get home, they get stuck at home doing chores instead of having to go that extra mile or putting their lives at risk and going to school.
That is correct.
So something so basic that we take for granted, yet it has such a profound effect if we can rectify it. So hats off to World Vision Canada, hats off to you with this project. So tell us where viewers can find out more information.
Absolutely. So viewers who would like to support us in this journey, they could go to the website daughtersofIndia.ca, or they could call our call center, and you can see the number on the screen here. It'll be wonderful, and we really encourage every Canadian, and particularly the diaspora from India, to join us in this journey so we can make a change in the lives of these children.
Amazing. So that's where you can find out more information. We have already told you what the project is all about, but again, I believe you have imagery, you have links to their campaign videos, so you can see more and not just hear it from us, but actually see the visuals and see such a big impact it can make towards education, towards the future of our children, especially the girls, and towards eliminating poverty. What are some of the ways that people can make contribution? Is it monetary? Can they volunteer going back to India? What are some other ways?
Absolutely. One way is to contribute. So if you go on this website, daughtersofIndia.ca, you would be able to contribute a minimum of $10 for 3 months, or 6 months, or 12 months. So you can be on this journey for a year with us, and all we are asking is a minimum of $10 to contribute every month. So that's one way to do it. If you really want to volunteer, I would only encourage you to, you can again contact our call center. We have opportunities to volunteer in World Vision Canada here. People are most welcome to do that as well. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we're starting in Punjab, as we heard. Is there any plans to expand it to other parts of India?
Absolutely. India, World Vision India, our office there, has work in 125 large communities in India. So we work primarily in North India. We work in all the important states where poverty is very high. So the opportunity to support currently through this Rise Up Daughters of India is in Faridkot, but there are multiple ways that they can support in other parts of India as well. If you look at holistic development of children, we work on health, nutrition, education, child protection, and children's participation. So this project focuses on the education piece, but you can certainly support us in any of the other areas that we work in India as well.
Awesome. So it's all about our future, which are our children, and Rise Up Daughters of India is one major project towards eliminating poverty, bringing up children, bringing up our future. So it's great. We want to hear more about other upcoming projects. लेकिन उससे पहले लेते एक छोटा सा ब्रेक। Welcome back to Spotlight. We are talking about Rise Up Daughters of India project with World Vision Canada's Director for International Programs, Mr. James Pothirajulu. So James, we want to come back and talk about the project again because it's so important. But tell us, what other projects can we look forward to with World Vision Canada?
Absolutely. World Vision is a very rights-based organization. We focus on the right of the child to survive, the right of the child for development, and that's where we bring in the education component of it, the rights of a child to be protected from all evil and harm, and finally the right of the child to participate in decisions that impact their life. So our projects around the world, we work in close to 60 countries, focuses on these 4 main areas of rights. So as you know, the Rise Up Daughters for India is primarily about education. If you look at health and nutrition, we have a project, a campaign actually going now about hunger-free. We believe the early days of a child is very, very important. The first 1,000 days is so critical to the life of a child, and also their first 5 years. If they survive those first 5 years and get the right health and the right nutrition, that's going to change their entire life. So this whole hunger-free project is all about health and nutrition of children. We work very closely with pregnant and lactating mothers. If you look at the whole child protection aspects of it. We have several projects in East Asia particularly where children tend to be trafficked. So we work very closely in the communities. We create child protection groups where the communities themselves track the movement of children. So if their friend, a girl, is missing from the community, they immediately get the whole community together. So instead of going and fighting it at the other end when everything is done, after a child has been trafficked, we kind of look at the root causes of it. We work at the community level. Prevention, as you know, is certainly better than cure. And lastly, the whole child participation piece of it. We have many children's clubs that are created in the communities that we work in. We have thousands and thousands of children's clubs that are created. It kind of gives them a forum to express their views, because we do believe that they need to have a say in the decisions that are made for them. So the child protection committees that we have are really helpful in that. So these are some of the major programs that we are currently involved in.
Amazing. So it's all about helping our future, which is our children, whether it's through prevention or trying to tackle some of the issues that we have at hand. I have to ask you, you have the passion. Like we heard, when you were born, you saw your dad as a priest. You already had the passion to help others. But there are many of us out there, we are, like we talked about, being on the fence. Should I not help others? What words of advice do you have for our viewers? Why is it important to help others?
Absolutely. As a fellow immigrant in Canada, I'm sure each one of us recognize that we are so privileged. I mean, start with the air that we breathe. We just take so many things for granted. We are so privileged to live in Canada, to have equal opportunities to education, equal opportunities for health. It is just almost utopian to be in a land like this, particularly when we know what's happening in the developing countries, and even in India, the air that is, that we breathe in India, or the immense inequalities that are there. So I would encourage our viewers, really, that if we are so privileged, we do have a duty to the poor and the needy of the world. And I really encourage them to join organizations like World Vision in this journey to do our part. And I think it is very, very important for us to do this.
Very well said. And you, by watching us today, are already taking that step towards helping others. Rise Up Daughters of India. How we take things for granted, but truly, it does have a great impact on the health, not having a toilet for the girls, as you already told us about. So again, Rise Up Daughters of India project. We want to help. So tell us, again, how can we help you?
Absolutely, and I want to reiterate, many times we might think a simple thing like a toilet may not be the main reason why girls don't go to school in India. And I agree that there are several other reasons, but as I said, the research has shown that this is an important reason. And I just want to add, if sometimes girls, they go to school, there is no privacy for them. Sometimes they just hold on, they don't go. They hold on for like 8 hours. That has serious consequences on their sexual and reproductive life later at times, right? Then there is the question of their menstrual cycles, and that prevents them from going to school, at least for those 3, 4, or even a week. Because if there is no privacy for them in their schools, they are not going to go to school during those days at all. And research actually shows about 25% of the girls who drop out, they do that when they reach puberty. So surely there is a link between the toilets. So I really want to encourage you, go online to daughtersofIndia.ca or call our call centers, and you can see the number and the screen. Do your part. As I said, you can donate just $10 for at least 3 months, or you can do it for a year. I would also encourage you, World Vision has a very large sponsorship program. We have 500,000, close to 500,000 Canadians sponsoring children around the world. So if you want to have a long-term relationship with a child from a developing world, then you can also sponsor a child. If you want to work with children in the most difficult places, we have projects to do it in South Sudan, in Afghanistan, Afghanistan, in Somalia. We have a program called Raw Hope. If you think you want to help children in the most difficult places, there is an opportunity for that. So multiple ways where you can join us in this journey.
Amazing. So there you have it. There are no excuses. There are multiple projects that you can be part of. Today we talked about Rise Up Daughters of India, how it's very important, but like James said, many other projects you can be part of. Thank you so much, James, for coming and talking to us today.
It's my pleasure to be here, and thanks to you for hosting me tonight.
Thank you. All the best with everything, and especially with Rise Up Daughters of India.
Thank you so much.
तो ये थे मिस्टर जेम्स पोथिराजुलू, जिन्होंने हमें प्रोत्साहित किया है ताकि हम उनको सहारा दें राइज अप डॉटर्स ऑफ इंडिया प्रोजेक्ट के लिए. Well, that's a wrap for this week's show. Thank you for watching us. Continue to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and write to me at spotlight@ethnicchannels.com. We'll continue to bring you inspiring guests who will inspire you to be the change towards the change in the world. Until next week, this is Amitha signing off, encouraging you to make a change in the world in your own way.